Now let's see what happens whenever you are going to use null values or come across null values in the where clause. So let us assume that there is a table, and in table let's say we have two attributes A and B, and assume that A values are like this, A, B, C, D, and here we have 1, 2, and let's say we have null and we have null. Now if you want to find out all the A values for which B value is null, then how are you going to write it? You are going to write it as select A from, let's say the table name is R, from table R, where you are going to write it as LUH here, where let's say you wrote B is equal to null, right? Now what happens is, so this is B, 1 is equal to null is false and 2 equal to null is false. See, we are going to compare the values one by one. Now 1 will be compared with this, 1 equal to null, it is false, therefore that value will not be printed, and then 2 equal to null, that is false, therefore this value will not be printed. Now coming to null, when you compare null and null, so two nulls are always considered as different, so which means you are in effect considering a null as a value which is different from all the values as well as it is different from any other null also, right? Therefore if you try to compare null equal to null, again this one will also give you false value. So when you compare null with null, the answer is going to be false, and so this one is not going to be displayed. And again if you compare this null with this null, since two nulls are always different, again the output of this one is going to be false, and so this one will also be not printed. Then in this situation, how to get all the values of A for which B values is null is, now we are going to use a special connective called as is. Now whenever I use B is null, then what happens is, in this case we will take whatever the values of B for which we have null, we will print those two, which means we are going to get output as CD. So if you have to use CD, if you have to get CD, then you are supposed to use is null, right? And similar to the is null, there is one more condition, one more connective, which is not null. So is not null means you are going to get all the values of A for which B is not null. So you are going to get this one, right? So AB. Therefore you are not supposed to compare B is equal to null. If you want it, you just use B is null. Got it? And sometimes if you are comparing two attributes, you can sometimes compare two attributes in join condition, right? So in join condition, let us say you are writing something like this, E dot name, let's say, is equal to D dot name. So if you are writing a join condition like this, right? Now what happens is, let us assume that there are two tables for which you want to combine these two, or let's say there are two tables and you are going to compare these two tables based on the attribute name. Let's say this is the name in E table and then this is the name in D table. Okay. Now whenever these two values are equal, you want to see it as output. Let us say here there is A and here there is B, here there is C, and A, B, C, and here there is null and here there is null, right? And here there is null and here there is null. Okay. Now what happens is, in join both of them will be joined and the comparison will be done appropriately. So when these two are joined, or when Cartesian product is applied, this one will be compared with this. Since these two are matching, this particular row will be selected. Got it? This one will be selected in the output. Now these two will be compared, it will not be selected. These two will be compared, it will not be selected, and these two will be compared. And whenever you do the comparison, you are going to follow the same rule. What is the rule? Null is a value which is different from all the other values as well as it is different from the other nulls. Therefore this particular row will not be selected, right? Similarly, when you compare to this particular row will not be selected. Same thing happens with B, only this particular row will be selected, right? and when B is compared with null, that one will not be selected, and B is compared with null, that one will not be selected. Similarly for C also, only this row will be selected because these two are matching, right? And when you compare C with null, same thing happens, that will not be selected. Now when you are going to compare these two, as I told you earlier, two nulls are actually compared, are thought of as two different values. That is why this particular value will not be selected, and again this particular tuple will not be selected. Got it? So that is how you are going to get the null in case of where, right? Okay.